Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. My name is Melanie and I'm super jazzed to be here as always. If you caught my last video, my last Pagan Plan with Me installment, we kind of did a 2021 recap. I went over my last bullet journal, did some pros and cons, and kind of showed you the general plan and the changes I was looking to make for this coming year. I was feeling very good, thinking I had pre-planned enough and was putting my best foot forward into 2022 with the entire month of November just dedicated to bullet journaling and planning. Because of this, and because I'm a sucker for a ridiculous deadline, I actually ordered a new bullet journal online. It was supposed to arrive yesterday on November 25th, and it didn't. So I am still waiting for my bullet journal to arrive. That being said, I now have probably 4 or 5 days to complete all of my yearly spreads, do the rituals that are involved in even creating those spreads. Like for my tarot spread, for example, I don't just sit down and draw the spread. I have to do the tarot pull. I have to sit down and meditate and get into the headspace of doing a year forecast tarot spread and then do the bullet journal page. So there's a lot of intention and ritual and organization that goes around even before I get to sit down and create a bullet journal page. So that brings me to the topic of today's video, and I am now going to operate in 2022 with multiple journals going. So I'm going to share with you how I have decided to repurpose my once begun and now changed bullet journal for 2022. I started my yearly pages. I did a cover page and I did a vision board and I started a few other spreads and a few familiar issues arose. I've been using traveling journals, moleskin to be specific, and inserting them into a really wonderful handmade leather cover that I have. And because I love the cover so much, I have stuck with the moleskin traveler journals that I don't actually like very much. If you have not seen any of my Pagan Plan with Me series before, this is the journal cover I'm talking about. I love it. It's real leather. I'm a very touchy-feely person. Like how something feels to me really matters. I pretty much always would prefer neutral and natural materials if I have that choice. So this is the moleskin traveler journal that I have been using as my bullet journal inside of this leather cover for the last 2 years. I do like the size of it. I like my leather cover, but these pages ghost so badly. If you use even a regular ballpoint pen, you will see it on the other side. And I was able to overlook it for the previous years because I liked the cover so much and because I appreciated the smaller environmental footprint I was leaving by using small refillable inserts as opposed to purchasing entire journals the whole time. That was a big part of the choice to get a handmade one-off good quality journal cover and then replace the inserts. But I was not able to find traveler journal style inserts that had a GSM higher than like 60. And 60 is very low. Basically, I don't want to waste this vision board. I don't want to waste the intention and the time and the energy that I spent into getting this journal started because I don't like it. It would be super wasteful, and that's just something that's entirely not in alignment with who I am as a person. I'm not going to throw this out or just leave it to not be used. So I have decided to turn this bullet journal, once was bullet journal, to turn this journal into my content planning. It felt like an applicable thing to put behind such a beautiful vision board because a lot of the larger themes in this vision board are things that I share here on the channel. A lot to do with gardening, nature, cooking, homesteading, even things like astrology and the stars. These are all large themes in my life, hence them being large themes here on the YouTube channel. So I felt like it was a great way to utilize this journal. I also got these traveler journals. It is the exact same traveler journal as this guy. They're both from moleskin, but this is the lined version. It is not the squares. So I got this in a different color and with lined so that it could be a therapy journal. I'm not going to get into talking about therapy because I am in no way an expert in that regard. However, I will say that I started attending that. And I have always been someone who pursues personal development or self-help, if you will. But I do think that especially at this stage in my life, investing in clear, driven and intentional work on bettering who I am or getting rid of patterns that I don't feel like align with me or serve me anymore is really important. Journaling is a large part of that for me in bullet journal form, but in other forms as well, gratitude journals, etc. But this is going to be like a very specific workbook to address things that I cover in therapy. Now, I want to talk about what made me choose to take these two topics and put them in their own journals as opposed to including them in my bullet journal, because I do a lot of just gratitude work in my bullet journal. I do planning, so my content planning could have gone in my bullet journal, and I have actually been playing around with multiple different spreads. I was going to have a ideas list or a make list for YouTube content, but then I realized that I was not going to have anywhere to actually do outlines for videos, which I often do, especially with things like my lunar series. When I'm giving you correspondences or associations on zodiac signs, I want to have a spot to outline that video in order to provide good, usable information to you all. I'm excited to use this in a very productive way. And it's going to be a super interesting log to have of all of the different content I've created over this last year, and then in the years to come, if I continue journaling about the content I create, it's just going to be a very cool analog form to look back on for me. I feel like many good things have come out of me pivoting the direction of my bullet journaling in 2022. I mean, I definitely have given myself a way shorter timeline to complete my actual bullet journal, which I will be sharing with you here. But man, I'm gonna have like 2 days to get that all done, so fingers crossed. Both of these Moleskine Traveler journals will be going into my one beautiful leather cover. So if you're not familiar with Traveler journals and how they work, you have like these elastics. Mine are actually just repurposed hair elastics that I cut and then tied back together. It works. I'm not necessarily the most put together individual these days, but that's fine. They work great. And then the cover itself just kind of looks like this, and I'll cut to some B-roll of me putting in these Traveler journals so that you can see what it's like if you're someone who is maybe considering getting a nice cover and then filling it with Traveler style. Another thing I do want to talk about is that the dimensions for these, how large this is, was hard to find. So if you are someone who's starting out bullet journaling, I would recommend maybe getting like a standard A5 sized journal, which is the one that I will be switching to. I'll leave a link to the journal that I'm purchasing in the description below. I did a fair bit of research. I am by no means a bullet journal expert, but it has, I believe, 160 GSM, which basically means gram per square like millimeter, I believe is what it stands for. Might be wrong. Don't take my word for that. But basically the individual pieces of paper are extremely dense, decreasing the amount of bleed through and ghosting you might get from different types of pens that you're using, or even watercolors. So this journal was highly reviewed on Amazon, which is where I purchased it. I am in no way affiliated, or do I get money at all for telling you about this. But if you're interested, I'll link it below so that you can check it out if you want. I got red and gold, a little sun. It's cute. I'm excited. You'll obviously see it when I get it, if it comes. But paying attention to the size of journals that you're getting, especially if you're purchasing like a cover like this, like these are not necessarily cheap. They're a little bit of an investment. This one is real leather, and I wanted to purchase it once and purchase it high quality and keep it and reuse it continuously. So there's only like 1 or 2 different companies that create journal inserts that are this size. Looking back, if I were to purchase this again, I would have gotten a more standard uniform size, because my filling options would be broader than they are. I wouldn't be doing a whole new journal if I had gotten this in an A5 standard size, because I would have had fillable inserts available to me with a higher GSM. So would have circumvented a lot of problems, which is why I'm telling you about it. A content creating journal is not necessarily applicable to most individuals unless if they are creating content. But if you are someone who has been at all in pursuit of a spiritual path, a religious path, a self-improving path, even if you're someone who is dedicated to cultivating a meditation practice, having a journal that is analog, like something you have to physically actually write out your feelings in and spend the time to slow your thoughts down enough to interpret them onto a piece of paper with a pen, can be highly valuable. I have watched hundreds of experts speak about this, but I can only tell you from my personal perspective, when I take the time to write down feelings or my experience around a topic, or even a gratitude list, when I physically write it out, there is something different that occurs. It is more visceral. My physical body is involved in doing it. It becomes 3D. I take it out of my brain and out of the internet. I'm not writing it on my phone or on some electronic thing. It becomes real. And when I can put it into a real journal on a real piece of paper with a real pen, it switches something about the experience for me. So I have had gratitude journals, and I have had many dream journals and tarot journals and other specific journals. And I have found splitting things up and putting them into their own journal makes me use an entire notebook. So I am definitely someone who is guilty of getting through like 2/3 of a journal and then leaving the last third because I changed how I decided I want to use a book, or I'll have beautiful journals gifted to me and I won't touch them for literal years because I don't know what to use it for. Now that I have reached the ripe age that I have and have more journaling experience and more experience in general in the interests that I have straight up just dedicated whole books to poetry. And now this whole book is dedicated to tarot, and this whole book is dedicated to gratitude, instead of having those things mixed throughout. The only journal that I have that has multiple topics amalgamated together would be my actual bullet journal, because that is the cross point of all of the different aspects of myself and my life, because that's where I plan my entire life. So it has all of the little pieces filtered in, if that makes sense. So I just wanted to basically make this video to encourage you to not feel the need to have to fit everything into your bullet journal. I at first was rather disheartened, but it's a concept that I have come to grow to love in my life, and it's basically problem solving, which in other words is forced creativity. I had a problem, my pages would leak and bleed through ink, and it took a lot of the joy out of making pretty pages for me in my bullet journal. Solving that problem, I would get a new bullet journal. Okay, I got a new bullet journal, but now I'm wasting the one that I had already started, and I'm not going to be able to utilize a cover that I purchased and invested in and really enjoy using. So how do I solve that problem? And the entire process of getting to where I'm at now became a creative project. It's not just the act of making a pretty bullet journal. It is, how am I going to use this journal? How's it going to really serve me? And I think that can be the true joy out of journaling, or out of using stationery to enhance and improve your life. Bullet journals only have so many pages, and in order to actually have it be an aid of, hi Ripley, you want to sit? There you go. For a bullet journal to actually be helpful, useful, and aid you in being productive, it needs to be semi-organized, or at least mine does. I can't have it too cluttered with all of my outlines for all the videos I'm going to make, or notes from therapy that I don't necessarily want to leave open on the table while I'm looking at a to-do checklist that's right next to it. Having all of that in one book would make me go through a bullet journal very quickly, but also it would take away the efficiency of a bullet journal for me. So I want to share with you this kind of last minute change to my 2022 plans, which by the way, I'm not normally good at. I don't necessarily like plans changing. And I wanted to share with you the blessing in disguise that a last minute change like this can be for you. You don't have to have every possible thing in your bullet journal. You can have multiple journals, and you can revisit them whenever you want. It doesn't have to be a weekly or a daily or some type of regimented schedule of when you're going to journal about your content on YouTube, or your therapy sessions, or how you're doing with your meditation practice. You get to decide, and you get to create effective systems for you. which means they're changeable and they're adaptable. And that is one of the only ways that we're going to be able to continuously utilize our journal and to continuously feel productive and inspired, and like this system is actually helping you, is to cut the shit when it's not helping you. And for me, to free myself up to have multiple journals this year is really exciting. And it also means that I get to fully utilize the materials that I have, which is important to me in my life and becoming more important to not be wasteful, in my opinion. I don't want to have journals that have 100 pages in the back not used because I changed my mind, and that just seems frivolous and irresponsible. So if you're someone who has issues with commitment to journals like that, this video is to free you from the idea of having to complete them a certain way. I created this vision board, and a theme that you are going to heavily notice throughout my Pagan Plan with Me series and my bullet journaling, and what I'm choosing to share with you here, is the in-depth intention that goes on behind the scenes before I even create these spreads. Bullet journaling for me, and I think for everybody, is an extremely personal practice. And if you are new here or you haven't watched any of my Pagan Plan with Me series before, a theme that often repeats itself is the ritual behind creating the bullet journal. For me, that's not the case with everybody. A lot of the time people can sit down and just draw a monthly spread and that's it. But especially when it comes to my yearly spreads, I'm not simply writing down goals. I go through usually a meditation practice before I write down goals, or for example, my year in advance tarot spread. That involves preparation and intentional space setting and holding and time. I have to get in the right headspace, get the right equipment, and be present in order to do a tarot reading for myself for an entire year in advance before I even sit down to create that bullet journal spread. So while I am preparing to show you my bullet journal for the coming year of 2022, I want to kind of let you know that most of the benefit in this, and why I film these videos the way I do, and they often come off a little bit more vlog style as opposed to sitting down, bird's eye view of me just physically doing the journal, I think it's important to include the process behind the end product. That is why this series is called Pagan Plan with Me, because these are my rituals, these are my intention setting moments, these are how I celebrate Sabbats and live seasonally, and all of that is integrated into my bullet journal because my bullet journal is custom to my life, as yours should be. So these videos that are going to be coming up in the next few weeks here are all geared towards enabling my spiritual practice to infiltrate and ooze and seep into the nooks and crannies of my everyday life. And to me, that's what gives my life richness and meaning and beauty and understanding and purpose, is having my spiritual practice in all aspects of it. And my bullet journal is a beautiful place that all comes together for me. So I am very excited to be sharing with you about my YouTube content journal, and the fact that I'm starting not only a therapy journal, but a therapy journey. So a wonderful example of this would be the vision board that I created in this journal. So I sat down with my mom, we had some beautiful hot chocolate, we started a Disney movie, and it became very ritualistic in the sense that it was a beautiful moment I'm now going to remember, because we got to sit down and pull out all of the old magazines and cut out these images that meant something to us. And I now have the memory of doing that with my mom and kind of manifesting and projecting and visualizing and conceiving of the possibilities for the year to come. So not only do I get to be drawn back to that moment and drawn back into the vision I have for the year to come when I look at this video, for example, or when I see my mom or share in those experiences, all of that potency and all of that intention is also right here on this page. And I think that's what makes vision boards and visualization practices such a underrated tool. Having something that ties into your senses, something you can see, something you can imagine how it feels, something that you know what peaches taste like. And when you choose that image and you associate that taste with the emotional response and the visualized outcome, like that is the perfect recipe for manifestation. When I created this vision board, it was a full moon in Taurus. It happened to be a Taurus eclipse, so I wasn't going to be doing any kind of divination or anything that might involve needing that lunar light, but I did fully incorporate the 5 senses that Taurus is heavily associated with. So Taurus is ruled by Venus. It's very visceral. I'll link to the video where I get way more into it, but I organized doing this vision board and this planning process with my mom around the full moon, and it was all very intentional to create a container to hope and dream for the year to come. So it seems so silly to imbue so much meaning in something that's so simple, but that is what I think makes my everyday life magical, because I choose to see the magic in silly little things like a collage. Anyway, guys, I know this video was a little bit all over the place and might not have been what you were expecting from me. I will have my 2022 Pagan Plan with Me yearly pages up as soon as I get my journal, which is hopefully very soon. I am going to have to hammer out all of my yearly spreads as well as the monthly spreads for all of December, January, and February as soon as I possibly can. Because I do things seasonally, those are the 3 months that are in the winter season where I live, so I have to have it all done before December, and if I don't, it will deeply upset the minor perfectionist I have inside of me. And it's just also not necessarily a good way to start a new year on the bullet journaling front, you know? To start behind doesn't feel great. So we're gonna pump it out once we get that bullet journal in the mail. Fingers crossed, guys. Send some good juju into the space waves for me that it arrives today, because it was supposed to arrive yesterday, and it didn't. On that note, I hope you guys, as always, live long and prosper. Let me know in the comments below if you use multiple journals. Seriously, I want to know, does this work, or am I setting myself up to fail? Which is often how I learn. It's fine. It's fine. I will see you all very shortly with another video. Bye-bye.